Hi, I'm Dwayne Brown. Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, California Supreme Court makes a decision about regulating medical marijuana clinics.
And I'm Peggy Pico. Also ahead, Mayor Bob Filner joins us with an update on the budget, medical marijuana ordinance, and Plaza de Panama parking at Balboa Park. Then, ever feel anxious, depressed, or been diagnosed with a mood disorder? There's an app for that, thanks to the San Diego creator of Mood Watch, the personal story behind the app, and a demo of how it works.
And number 2 pencils are making way for iPads as some local schools test drive the next generation of standardized tests. KPBS Evening Edition starts now.
KPBS Evening Edition is made possible by Joan and Erwin Jacobs and by
Hi, good evening. Thanks for joining us. The state Supreme Court says local governments are allowed to ban storefront marijuana shops. It was a unanimous ruling today in a legal challenge to a ban in Riverside. The justices say even though voters approved medical marijuana nearly 17 years ago, there's nothing in the law saying cities and counties can't regulate or even ban dispensaries outright. San Diego City Attorney says the ruling upholds the position he's taken for nearly 2 years. The city actually filed suit to shut down about 100 dispensaries, saying they violated zoning laws. Jan Goldsmith says the ruling now means City Council can set the rules for dispensaries without fear of being sued. Council is already working on new regulations.
While we draft an ordinance and work that out to allow them somewhere, we should not allow this to get out of control again. We shouldn't have to have another situation where the chief comes to me personally and expresses the crime issues, public safety issues of proliferation throughout our community and our neighborhoods.
Goldsmith also points out the ruling doesn't change federal law against marijuana. Now, the court ruling was one of many items on the agenda for Mayor Bob Filner as he sat down today with KPBS reporter Tom Fudge.
Mayor Filner joins us frequently to talk about his priorities at City Hall, which now include a new budget. It also includes a plan to make lemonade out of that lemon we got when a plan to remove parking and traffic from the Plaza de Panama in Balboa Park was shot down by the courts. And Mayor Filner, thanks very much for being here.
Always great. Thank you.
Well, one very big story today is the California Supreme Court today said that it is okay for cities to ban medical marijuana dispensaries if they so choose. What's your reaction to that?
Well, it's also okay for us to allow them. And I would hope that the City Council, working with me, finds a balance between access to the humanitarian need of medical marijuana for those who are in a great deal of pain and who are chronically ill, and the need to protect our children in our neighborhoods. There's a balance there. I thought I found a balance with my recommendations. They're looking at them. I wanted access, but I wanted strict regulation. People had to register and personally register in a computer and have a ID card to be able to purchase with the doctor's prescription medical marijuana. I had a high permit fee and excise tax, so that could be fully funded. I had distances between dispensaries and from places where children congregate. So I thought I found the right balance, but the City Council hopefully will look at that and see what they come up with.
Well, before we get to talking about the budget, you have a new plan to remove parking from the Plaza de Panama, as I mentioned, and while the plan offered by philanthropist Erwin Jacobs would have cost tens of millions of dollars, sounds like you just want to put up a no parking sign.
I thought I could do it for cheaper. You know, I was the city councilman for the Balboa Park over 20 years ago, and we came up with a plan that basically we're going to do now. That is, as much parking outside the park as possible, tram system to bring in those visitors, but to make sure there's a higher level of pedestrian experience. So we're going to take the cars out of the center, the Plaza de Panama. We're still going to have circulation as the so-called Jacobs plan did, that is, cars coming in, but far less confrontation with pedestrians. In fact, we're going to close the Laurel Street Bridge on weekends to allow complete pedestrian freedom on the on that whole part of our park. But the value of what we're going to do, by the way, is it's not only low cost, it's temporary. That is, we can change anything that impacts either the visitors to museums, for example, or parking off 6th Avenue. If anything becomes a real problem, and I think we're going to be able to deal with it, we can change it. It's not like you're putting in a $40 million bridge and that's it.
The City Council is considering now your first budget as San Diego mayor, and that budget assumes a pay raise for city employees of 14% over 5 years. And yet you describe that as a cost savings.
Well, I think that's wrong, Tom. The budget that I presented has no increases for the employees. We are negotiating on a separate track as required by law, employee negotiations. They have suggested 14.5%. The council has come back with a 6%. So that's still not anywhere. We're not close yet.
Well, what is your position?
But I think we should have, first of all, a 5-year agreement, which will, in fact, enact the greatest savings from Prop B, which I did not agree with, and I think will be eventually invalidated. But I am proposing a 5-year pensionable pay freeze, which saves us $1 billion, but with percentage increases in compensation based on non-pensionable items like medical benefits, for example. So employee will see a greater amount of his paycheck, but without having any effect on our pension system. But if we do that, because of the certainty of a 5-year deal, our pension people calculate what our payments are annually, and we will get immediately, over 3 years, a $50 million savings. $50 million, sort of, I'll say free money, because of the calculation. And I think the council ought to take that money and use it for both infrastructure and for employee compensation increases in a way that is not contemplated yet in the budget.
Okay, but just very quickly, the 14% raise over 5 years, are you in favor of that? Or?
No, well, that's part of the calculation. I mean, that's part of negotiations. I don't have, I have to, that's the union's position. The council had an official 6% increase. Usually negotiations end somewhere in between. So we'll see where that goes, but that has to go on in in a closed environment of the negotiations.
Okay, just last week, KPBS hosted a panel of some of your predecessors. We were joined by former mayors Roger Hedgecock, Jerry Sanders, and Pete Wilson, and we wanted you to hear some of the things they said. First of all, here's Roger Hedgecock talking about your sometimes rocky relationship with the City Council.
It's obvious that the new mayor doesn't come out of the tradition that we three do, which was basically a bipartisan tradition. We were Republicans or we were party people, but in a limited sense. I always felt personally, and I think every mayor did in that era, that you were representing everybody and that you really had to respond to everybody, and only by working together with Democrats and Republicans and everybody else were you ever going to get anything done anyway. The appearance is that this new mayor is a much more partisan person because he's had that history of many years in the Congress on a very, how Congress is a very partisanized place. So bringing that into San Diego was kind of a foreign element, and even Democrats on the council, I think, kind of recoiled a little bit at some of the stuff that went on, the kind of combativeness that maybe is what Mayor Filner is anyway, but is also the kind of coming out of the experience he's had in Congress.
Partisan. Combative. What is your response?
Well, if it came from someone else beside Roger Hedgecock, it may be meaningful. I mean, here's the most partisan extreme guy in the media today in San Diego, and he's calling me partisan. I come out of the same tradition that they did in terms of I served on the school board, I served on our city council. I know how to work with both sides of the aisle and how to do that. I think what they're really upset about more than anything is that not the partisanship or whatever the contentiousness, we're making changes that they never contemplated. They come out of the same good old boys network that has governed the city for 50 years. I pledged to change that, and I was elected to do it. And that's what they're concerned about. I'm trying to build a more diverse city based on people who have not had a role, whether they come from ethnic minorities or women or educators or environmentalists, not the downtown special interests. And I think that's their real problem, not being too partisan. They know that we got to all work together here. They know that I know that. And we have a council now that is 4 Democrats, 4 Republicans. If I'm going to do anything, clearly you have to work together. They're concerned about the change in the old boys network, and they're trying to preserve it at all costs, and they'll criticize me on any grounds they can. But Roger Hedgecock, criticizing for someone, we're friends, and I've known him for a long time, but criticizing me for being partisan, I mean, he's the most extreme personality in radio today.
Okay, well, at any rate, thank you, Bob Filner, very much for coming in.
Thanks so much.
A former classmate and co-worker of Anthony Arevalos says the convicted ex-cop cheated on police academy exams to get his badge. The claim comes in a video deposition obtained by our media partner, 10 News. A now retired officer was questioned in connection with lawsuits filed by women assaulted by Arevalos. Francisco Torres says Arevalos bragged about police connections who gave him answers to exams. Torres says those connections covered for Arevalos when he assaulted women. The ex-cop was sentenced to nearly 9 years in prison. A $50,000 reward is being offered tonight for information about a fatal weekend shooting on Interstate 8. La Mesa police say the suspects in one car opened fire on 2 men in another on the freeway eastbound near State Route 125. This happened at about 3:30 Saturday morning.
With the reward money and with the detectives' work, somebody out there knows who's done this shooting, and we're hopeful and confident that we'll get a hold of that person or persons and we'll get this case closed.
22-year-old Shusha Brown Jr. was killed in the shooting. Another man was wounded. Police say they believe it was gang-related, but they say there's no evidence either victim was in a gang. Brown was a member of the Sequan Band of Indians, and the tribe is offering the reward. Investigators in the Bay Area tonight are looking for the cause of a deadly limousine fire. 5 women died when the limo burst into flames. 4 others escaped. The driver actually pulled them through the partition between his compartment and theirs. Police say the limo had 1 passenger too many, but they're not saying whether the overcrowding was a factor in the deaths. And the idled San Onofre nuclear plant could mean problems for our power supply this summer. The state power grid manager says most of California should have adequate power on hand, but the situation in San Diego and Orange counties may be more challenging. Today's forecast comes from the independent system operator. CalISO is asking consumers to conserve energy and watch for flex alerts on days of high energy demand. California will be using new online tests in 2015 to gauge student and school academic progress. KPBS education reporter Kyla Calvert takes us to a school piloting the project to see how it works.
In just a minute, so finish up your answer for number 1.
Before Michelle Smith's 5th graders at Spring Valley's Rancho Elementary started this writing lesson, she told them it was the kind of work that would help them with the tests they were trying out this week. Students are scribbling away with pencils now, but they'll be typing their answers on iPads and using their fingers to drag and drop images into answer fields when the tests start to count in 2 years. A couple sample questions ask students to watch a video about astronauts and exercise.
We all know that exercise is an important part of a healthy lifestyle. But did you know that exercise is even more important when you're training to be an astronaut?
And then explain why exercise is so important for astronauts. A couple of these new types of questions weren't working on the iPads at Rancho. But that's the whole idea behind trying the new tests out, to see what works and what doesn't on the computers, laptops, and tablets students will use to take the tests. And Principal Wendy Newmark says to give educators an idea of what to prepare for.
In the practice tests that we gave the kids, and we ourselves kind of took with them, they would solve a problem and explain how they got that answer in writing. So even in math, there's writing. There's writing everywhere. And so, which is great. That's fantastic. We just have to make sure that they can do it.
Kara Serban-Lawler heads information technology for the La Mesa Spring Valley School District. She's at Rancho watching the mock testing. She says the tests are challenging.
But the students are really focused because they're using tools that are relevant to them and they're very engaging. And so I think teachers and all of us are realizing that some of the instructional practices that we use will need to change.
With testing completed, Serban-Lawler sits down with a couple of students to see what they thought. 10-year-old John Pyle isn't interested in going back to pencil and paper.
You got to take some test that was not really fun, and a test and take the iPad or the internet, and which is fun, and put it together. It's a really good combination.
Having videos on the test was another plus for Pyle.
Watching the video and listening to it is, and then in the earphones is more easier, because if you do it with the earphones, then nothing's distracting you. If you're reading it from eye to paper, then there's a lot of distractions.
Still, editing his typed responses was a challenge. He says he learned about needing to proofread when part of an answer he meant to erase stayed on the screen.
And you don't look back over it, it stays there, and you end up, it just won't make sense.
Newmark says these are the kinds of things she's watching for, so she can make sure teachers are covering the academic topics in a way that exercise students' technical skills.
Not only the typing component, but how do I, put the cursor back in the middle of a word to fix something? How do I edit? Taking the time to go back and reread because there's no spell check. Learning to live life without spell check.
This year, one classroom at Rancho has iPads full time. Other classrooms share and get the devices 2 weeks at a time. During the test piloting, Serban Lawler noticed a difference between those two groups of students.
Students that have had iPads in their classroom all year and have been using them in their daily program to write essays and communicate with each other and do research were much more fluid and fluent in their typing on the assessment that they took. So they're more fluent in their typing, they were faster, they looked more comfortable using the technology to take the assessment.
That difference is putting on the pressure.
Well, up to this point, schools have purchased classroom sets of iPads using the funding that they have at the school sites. As I said before, this assessment is creating a sense of urgency for the district to now invest some general fund dollars in providing more access, which is a good thing.
Having an iPad for every student in 2 years when the new tests start to count might be ideal. But with state funding still down from 5 or 6 years ago, La Mesa Spring Valley leaders have their sights set on a more realistic goal. They hope to have 2 grade levels of students at each school working with the devices full time when the tests roll out. Kyla Calvert, KPBS News.
After more than a year as an independent, Nathan Fletcher has switched parties again. The former San Diego Assemblyman and one-time mayoral candidate is now a registered Democrat. He announced the move on Facebook, saying he was reluctant to make the change because he'd be criticized. But Fletcher says his votes and positions while in office were more in line with the Democratic Party. He says he doesn't know if he'll run for office again. He's now working for Qualcomm and UC San Diego. A local inventor has created a new app to help people with mood disorders. Peggy Pico shows us how Mood Watch works.
Mood disorders refer to a mental health category that includes anxiety, depression, and bipolar disorders. The National Institutes of Health reports nearly 1 in 10 adults in the U.S. have a mood disorder, which can increase the risk of heart problems, diabetes, and other diseases. Mood disorders can also significantly impede a person's ability to perform everyday activities. San Diego inventor Kimberly Knox knows firsthand about the difficulty of living with a mood disorder. She joins us tonight to show us how her new app that tracks emotional, physical, and mental status throughout the day may help. Kimberly, welcome.
Thank you.
Now tell us about your personal journey and how it led you to create this mood app called Mood Watch.
Well, I have bipolar 1, and I've had it for quite a while. My second trip to the hospital, I found myself in an art room at 4 o'clock in the morning again, and sort of at my wit's end. And I had this spiral ring notebook with me, and I was looking around through piles of clutter and found a box of colored pencils, and I looked at my pad of paper and I thought, I had this kind of epiphany. I mean, I had to get my head around what was going on. And I thought, what if I could create something that could size me up mentally, emotionally, physically throughout the day.
Sort of a monitoring system.
Monitoring system. And what if I could create something to track my my medications and my supplements. And what if I could actually chart that accurately so that I could put all this together, including how I felt, my sleeping, my meditation, and look at that information for myself as well as share it with my physician or my therapist.
And so this is how this app came about, on paper first.
On paper.
And then now it's an actual app called the Mood Watch. Walk us through how this app works.
Well, in the morning when you start out, you look at your overall feeling, how many hours of sleep you've gotten, the quality of your sleep. You go through a little charting your mood components, anxiety, your mood, calmness, energy. There's a little biofeedback exercise as well. There's a section at the end where you write down what's been going on with you during the day. And then, of course, the medication supplement section. All that gets transferred into a mood chart, and the ultimate.
And even your physical, the blood pressure, the even your physical vital signs, correct?
Yes.
You can chart all that.
That's right.
So we've got this extensive graph and chart that looks very similar to your journal. I want to be clear, of course, this is not a treatment for mood disorders. This is more of a management tool, correct?
That's correct.
Tell us how tracking the things that we just saw, our physical vital signs, our moods, the emotional ups and downs in the day, how does that help you manage your mood, let's say through a bipolar disorder?
Basically what it does is it breaks down a mood into component parts. So you're not really kind of responsible for a whole mood, you're just looking at its components. And once you do that, looking at everything together, all of a sudden now you have a picture. And putting all that together with the physical and then what's been going on during the day, how you've been feeling during the day, and your medications, all of that rolls into something that starts making sense.
And, yes, and you said in little pieces, you're not responsible for this big giant thing you can't tackle. What have therapists been saying about this, or the medical professionals that have looked at this said?
Frankly, they're blown away. I've had more patients referred through therapists and through psychiatrists, and the patients have just been elated.
And for you, what was the most important part about this app? Did you feel like it helped you categorize things? Did you feel empowered? What was the part that made you feel the best about it?
This changed my life. This absolutely changed my life. It's not really, there's medication is one part, there's the meditation is one part, but the management that ties everything in together is just unbelievable.
All righty. There's a whole lot more of information on our website about this on Mood Watch. Kimberly Knox, creator of the app Mood Watch, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm Jeffrey Brown. On the next News Hour, as the government weighs new regulation, we debate whether publicly traded corporations should disclose to shareholders all of their political donations. That's Monday on the PBS News Hour.
Today's wet weather was a big help to firefighters in Ventura County. They say there are no more open flames in the Santa Monica Mountains. The fire burned about 44 square miles and damaged 15 homes. We've got one more day of scattered showers in the forecast. Then we can expect a mix of sun and clouds, maybe more clouds than sun, temperatures in the mid-60s. The mountains may see some thunderstorms, and a wind advisory will be up until 3 in the morning. For the desert, partly cloudy with temperatures in the 80s. A pitch fest and mixer to bring San Diego filmmakers together drew more than 500 people, including the mayor. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando was there and spoke with organizers and attendees.
Jody Silly founded the Film Consortium San Diego last year because she wanted to bring filmmakers together to increase the quantity and quality of film production in San Diego. In response to increased interest, the organization expanded its Friday night pitch fest and mixer from a networking event to something more like a convention.
The convention style floor is pretty great. I'm loving kind of all of us finding out about each other and learning and networking and building a community here.
Media arts is important, and a place like this is important is because it's community, and it's really about helping each other grow in whatever we want to do.
I think the Film Consortium is great because it gives filmmakers from all around the county an opportunity to come together. And here at this event, we're meeting brand new filmmakers that have never been a part of the 48-Hour Film Project before. So we're thrilled to have so many new people.
The idea is that we needed to bring together people interested in making films and start a dialogue about how can we keep jobs here in San Diego, especially for emerging filmmakers who are coming out of college and having to move elsewhere. And my job here is to handle the pitch fests. And so I've got a whole series of filmmakers coming through, pitching their ideas.
Yeah, we've had a really cool time here tonight. The mayor came out and he wants us to build a list of what it would take to revitalize the film community and the film industry here in San Diego.
He is really interested in seeing not only emerging filmmakers stay in San Diego, but also to remove some of the limitations that have prevented people from getting permits to make films here.
The Film Consortium hopes that getting the city on board will result in more and better opportunities for San Diego filmmakers. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
You can find tonight's stories and download the KPBS app all on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.